Hello everyone, this is Miss Ava Hart. Today is Thursday, November the 19th, 2020. It is now 3:59 p.m. This instructional video will just give you an overview of the PSAT. If you haven't noticed by now, your do nows for the week are actual test questions taken from the PSAT. The reason that I am doing the do nows this way is because I want to give you additional practice with taking the PSAT. So when you take the PSAT again in January, your scores will increase because it has been proven that the more you take the PSAT, the more your scores increase. So that is why when you are doing the do now, I'm giving you questions. I'm taking actual questions directly from the PSAT, from section 2 of the PSAT. Section 2 of the PSAT is writing and language. So I'm taking actual questions from the PSAT section 2, and I'm giving them to you. I'm giving it to you as a do now so that you gain extra practice with the PSAT so that your scores will increase when you take it the second time in January. So I'm just going to give you an overview of the PSAT. I'm going to give you an overview of standardized testing, and that's it for this video. All right. First things first, the PSAT measures critical reading skills, math problem skills, writing skills. And the PSAT is meant to give you feedback on your strengths and your weaknesses in skill areas necessary for college success. So you're taking the practice SAT, that's why it's called the PSAT. And this is what the PSAT measures: critical reading skills, math problem solving skills, writing skills, feedback on your strengths and weaknesses in skill areas necessary for college success. All right, what is a standardized test? A lot of times, most of the time, teachers do not take the time out to explain to you why you are even taking the PSAT or the SAT. They just say, "Oh, you got to take this state test and do your best on it," and that's all they tell you. They don't even tell you what the test is for, what is it supposed to measure, what is a standardized test, none of that. So this video is to just give you some basic information, like I said, about the PSAT and standardized testing and the history of standardized testing. Okay, so a standardized test is a test that is administered and scored in a consistent manner. All that's saying is that when you took the PSAT in November, you took it online. I read the instructions to you, and then each section of the PSAT was timed, and you took the test. Well, if you were at Henry Ford High School, if you were at Cody High School, if you were at Renaissance High School, if you were at McKenzie, or if you were at oh my goodness, Pershing High School, Osborne High School. If you were at any Detroit Public School high school, or any high school for that matter in the state of Michigan, the test would have been done the exact same way. The exact same instructions would have been given. You would have had the exact same amount of time for each section. So that's what a standardized test is. A standardized test means that a test that is given the exact same way, regardless of what school you attend. So regardless of what high school you attend, the PSAT is given the exact same way. You're given the exact same test. and you're given the exact same time to complete each section. All right, that's a standardized test. It follows a group of standards, or it follows a group of rules or protocols, and they're consistent. No matter where you go, what high school you go to, the PSAT will be given the same. All right, next. An example of a standardized test is the PSAT. All right, the purpose of a standardized test allows for comparisons to be made among schools in regards to student achievement. So one reason or one purpose for a standardized test is to say, okay, the students at Mumford are doing better than the students at Henry Ford. Or the students at Henry Ford are doing better than the students at Mumford. So it just compares one group of students at one school to another group of students. Number 2, it ensures accountability for teachers. This part you don't have to worry about too much because it doesn't concern you. It's more or less for me. About the PSAT is a measuring tool for me as a teacher about how well I'm doing as a teacher. And number 3 has the ability to inform instruction for educators. So based on your PSAT scores, it tells me, the teacher or the educator, what I need to work on with you in the classroom. So if I look at your scores and I see that a lot of you have a hard time identifying the author's purpose when you were doing section 1 of the PSAT. Well, that means if most of you scored incorrectly on the questions that were related to the author's purpose, well, that means that I need to start teaching more about the author's purpose in class. So that's what number 3 means, has the ability to inform instruction for educators. Basically, I look at the test, I look at the scores, and if the majority of you are scoring low on a certain question, that means that I need to really keep reteaching that concept until you all get it. All right, baseline assessment. A baseline assessment is to find out a student's learning needs, their natural ability, and potential. You've taken 2 baseline assessments in my class so far, and the PSAT is another example of a baseline assessment, just to find out your learning needs, to find out what is it that I need to teach you or keep teaching you until you grasp the concept. The PSAT is a baseline assessment because it is a slightly easier version of the SAT taken junior year. It is a warm-up. It gives students and parents guidance in terms of how they'll perform on the SAT. And when I say they'll, we're talking about students, you. By the time you take the SAT in the spring of your junior year, you would have practiced taking the SAT 8 times. So by the time you take the SAT in your junior year, you would have taken the practice test 8 times. So that means that by the time you take the SAT as an 11th grader, your scores should be way up. Because if you've taken the PSAT all 8 times that it is offered while you're in high school, you should have extremely high scores by the time you are a junior. All right, the highest PSAT score is 1520. If you are college bound, which means that you plan on going to college, the PSAT will help you secure scholarship money as early as 9th grade, and it will help increase your chances of scoring the required score needed to gain entrance in your college of choice. So if you know that your goal is to go to college, then you should take the PSAT every time that it's offered for free. Take it every single time. So that by the time you're in the 11th grade and you have to take the real SAT, and you have to submit the real SAT score to your college of choice, you will have the highest score possible. And I would suggest that if you know you are going to college and you know what college you want to attend, you need to see what you need to score on the SAT now. What SAT score do you need now to get into the college of your choice? Find that information out now so you have a goal to work toward when you take the SAT in the fall or when you take the SAT in the spring as a junior. So if you are not college bound, the PSAT will help prepare you for tests you need to take to obtain licensing. So if you want to do hair, go to cosmetology school. If you want to go into heating and cooling, real estate, automotive, a tax preparer, an electrician, you still have to take tests to gain a license for these particular careers. So the PSAT prepares you to take the tests needed for these careers so that you can get a license to legally work in these careers that I listed. So the PSAT, even if you don't plan on going to college, the PSAT does prepare you to take tests for certain careers that require you to have a license. And I just listed those careers, some of those careers. All right, the first large-scale use of the IQ test was during World War I, between the years of 1914 through 1918. From the IQ test came standardized testing. So if you wanted to participate in the war, if you wanted to go in the army, they had you take an IQ test to see if you were mentally fit to be a soldier in the army. So out of this IQ test came standardized testing. So that's why we now have standardized tests such as the PSAT, because it came from an IQ test. It came from the creation of an IQ. The PSAT, the reason we have standardized tests such as the PSAT is because because of IQ tests. An IQ test tests your level of intelligence. So the first large-scale IQ test ever given in America was during World War I. If you wanted to enlist in the Army, they had you take an IQ test to see if you were smart enough, if you were mentally prepared to be a soldier in the Army. So from the IQ test, we now have standardized testing. But here's the catch. You need to know the history of IQ tests. The IQ test was based on eugenics. The theory of eugenics was founded by Sir Francis Galton. Eugenics is the theory that intellectual ability is determined by your genes. If you did not belong to the Nordic, Anglo-Saxon, Germanic race, your genes were intellectually inferior. If you were poor, an immigrant, disabled, black, you were genetically inferior. So basically, the reason why we have IQ tests is because this man named Sir Francis Galton said that your level of intelligence was based on your genetics, your DNA. So basically what Sir Francis Galton said, if you did not belong to the Nordic, Anglo-Saxon, or Germanic race, then you were basically dumb. You were intellectually inferior. And the Nordic, Anglo-Saxon, and Germanic race are what we would label as European or white people. So Sir Francis Galton said that your DNA determined how smart you were or how smart you are. And if you were poor, an immigrant, disabled, black, then you were genetically inferior. You were intellectually inferior, meaning that you were dumb. That you were dumber. You were not as smart as white people. You were dumber than white. You were you were dumb. Basically, you were not as smart as white people. Okay, so I tell you this so that you understand if the IQ test was based on this theory and standardized tests came from IQ tests, I just want you to get a history of standardized testing in America and where it originated from. Okay. So that's why if you do your research, if you watch videos, if you read books, if you read journal articles, a lot of black scholars are against standardized tests such as the PSAT because they know the history behind standardized testing. And the history behind standardized testing came from the IQ test, which was originally based on eugenics. And eugenics is the theory that basically, and I'm just summarizing it, that basically if you're not white, if your DNA if you don't have the DNA of white people, the genetics of white people, it means that you are intellectually inferior, that you are dumb, that you're not as smart as white people. Okay, so the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1994 requires standardized testing in public schools. So there is a law that exists that says that public schools have to use standardized testing. Only public schools. If you go to a private school, then you don't have to take standardized tests such as the PSAT. So there is a law that exists that requires standardized testing in public schools, and that is why in any public school you are required to take the PSAT or any other state mandated test or any other state standardized mandated test. All right, U.S. Public Law 107-110 is known as the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001, and it ties public school funding to standardized testing. Basically, what it means is that how we are funded, how schools are funded, how public schools are funded, are dependent on the test scores of the PSAT and SAT. Next. The reason students in suburban areas do well on the PSAT/SAT is not because they are smarter than you. It is because their parents pay for PSAT, SAT, standardized test tutors, and test prep, and their parents require them to attend these tutoring sessions and take them serious. So, and if the child does not attend these tutoring sessions, then they don't attend a good college, and their child's school, their child's high school, does not get the money they need to give them a quality public education. That's why students in suburban areas do better on the PSAT and the SAT than students in urban areas or low-income areas. Is one, their parents are paying for them to, they're paying a tutor, they're paying for their child to be tutored in the PSAT, SAT. They're paying a tutor for this because they want their child to attend a good college, and they require their child to attend every single tutoring session because they're paying for it. And the parents realize that if their child does not do well on the PSAT or the SAT, then whatever high school their child attends, their child doesn't get funding. That school doesn't get funding. So they want to make sure that their child's school gets all the money that they can get in order that their child can get all the resources that their child can get in order so that their child can have a quality education. So it has nothing to do with them being smarter than you. It's about resources. It's about their parents are willing to pay for them a tutor so their child can get the highest score possible, so their child can get into the college of their choice. And it's about the parents understand that if their child does not do well on the PSAT or the SAT, whatever high school their child attends, their child, that high school is not going to get the money that they need in order for that child to have a quality education. So that is why when you look at the research, and the research is saying that students in suburban areas do better on the PSAT and the SAT, well, that's why they do better. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're smarter than you. It's one, they are paying for a tutor, and they make sure that their child attends every session and takes it serious because they're paying for it. They also want their child to get into a good college. And also they understand if my child does not score well on this PSAT or SAT, then the school, the high school that my child attends will not get the money that they need. And without that money, my child won't be able to get the resources that they need to get a quality education. Okay, next. And that's it. Extra credit will be attached to this assignment. Research the SAT scandal that took place in 2019. That's going to be on your assignment. I explain the extra credit in greater detail on your assignment, but you will receive extra credit if you research the SAT scandal that took place in 2019. All right, so that's it. I just gave you a brief overview of the PSAT. I gave you the history of standardized testing. I told you what standardized testing is. The PSAT is an example of a standardized test. And I gave you the reasons or how the SAT can help you if you are going to college, and how the PSAT can help you if you are not going to college. So that's all for this video. You will have questions related to what I just discussed in this video. So make sure that you watch this video because I answer each and every question that I'm giving you on your assignment. It is a total of 16 questions, and I just answered every single question in this video, but you must watch the video in order to get the answers to the questions. So that is all, everyone. This has been Miss Avahart with a PSAT overview instructional video, and I will talk to you on the next video. Have a good day.